Evening, everyone. This is Jared Rand, and welcome to the Reverse Aging Call for Friday, February 26, 2021, 9 p.m. Eastern. We're having testimonials come in that are, really impressive. We just had another one come in. And when you start realizing the impact of the formula by Hercules on the body, it's nothing shy of being miraculous. And this is a reason that we talk about getting it out to everybody we can across America. And we're trying to get it out to as many internationals as possible because of the fact that it is so effective for the body. It's a formula that is unlike any other. And yeah, it has, similar properties to a certain, some of the properties in some of the old original formulas, but it far surpasses those with the total combination of the extracts, organics that are in it. When you start to understand what some of these do, there's different grades of everything. I'm sure you all know that. There's the high, medium, and low, just to put it simple. And a lot of people don't know that when they take, even when you pay a lot, from your perspective on supplements or anything, in some cases, even though you pay a lot, it's still garbage. In other words, it's low end. So the company is just trying to make more money. And so they figure, well, the consumer's not going to know that we're using a lower grade formulation. They can put the ingredients on there, but you don't know how they're processed. You don't know how their formula put together so that the body can absorb them. And you're finding out that more and more, to escape any form of degradation by having something go into your stomach, which of course you have stomach acids, and it depletes it quite a bit. And so it isn't as effective as it could be if you could bypass that stomach. So Hercules does that. It goes into the mouth and it absorbs into the tongue, under the tongue, and its absorption factor is quite quick. You'll have a taste for a bit, afterwards, but it absorbs quickly. And it goes into the bloodstream. And that's where we want it. We want it in the bloodstream so it circulates throughout the body. And because of its effectiveness as far as microcirculation, you figure it out that you have regular circulation in the body. We all know that. The heart pumps, the lungs oxygenate the blood, and then it goes up and around. Left side is red, right side is blue. It's because the left side is oxygenated blood. It goes through, down the body, and then as it becomes deoxygenated, it turns kind of a bluish color, a darker color, until it goes in through the lungs again, and it's reoxygenated, so on and so forth. So we know that about circulation. We also know that the circulatory system is, and it's interesting because a lot of people ignore it, even young, people in their 20s. They don't really think about it. It's because, I'm sure most of you can remember when you were in your 20s, you didn't really think about a lot of the things that you think about now about your body, because things show up and then it draws your attention, and then the rest is history. But it is important because in regular circulation and not microcirculation, eventually, if we are not properly oxygenated and the body isn't utilizing oxygen as efficiently as it could, then you end up with things like plaque and and plaque we start getting when we're 10, at the age of 10. It's a proven fact, but it's not significant. It's very insignificant, but it takes many years for it to become significant. And a lot of people have issues, and they don't know that the issues are directly related to poor circulation. And poor circulation can be affected in different ways. You can have buildup of plaque in the arteries, which is, is a lot of things, calcium deposits, minerals, and different things that usually the body doesn't really need. It's an excess. And so, how does it get out? You can get it out through the skin, the epidermis. You can get it out through urine, solid or liquid, and then sweating, of course, perspiring. And a lot of people say sweat, but actually dogs sweat, animals sweat, and they sweat through the tongue. So that's why you see a lot of animals that are panting, they're actually sweating, and the tongue is how they sweat. We perspire. That's what we do. We have perspiration. And, if you want to get correct on it, it doesn't make any difference. Most of the time, I'm sweating. I've got a great sweat going. But in reality, it's the animals sweat through the tongue. We perspire. We'll put it that way, through the skin. Now, some animals, like horses, they perspire through the skin because they get wet. You run them long enough, they perspire. They don't sit. You don't see a horse sitting there panting. So you'll see dogs, different kinds of animals, lions. They sweat through the tongue. We perspire through the skin. Now, in circulation, normally, as things happen and as the diet and lifestyle, things become more and more obstructed. Not with everybody, but a lot. And then there's those people that aren't affected by it from the standpoint of stents or bypass surgeries or anything like that. But it does retard circulation. The arteries are very important as we age because we want to make them as clean as possible. So how do you, when and then you have hardening of the arteries, which is basically plaque buildup in the arteries, and the arteries lose their flexibility because they're full, and they don't have the flexibility. That's what they call hardening of the arteries. So then we look at microcirculation. Microcirculation is a quantum, so that means very small, okay, which means it can, through the body, feed the cells, the mitochondria, the telomeres, much easier with a healthy microcirculation. Now, when you take Hercules, your microcirculation may not be good, and most people's isn't. It isn't at the top end because you don't hear that much. You don't hear that that microcirculation. I mean, before Hercules, did you ever hear that? Did you ever hear people talk about, well, my microcirculation is really good? No, you don't. But now that Hercules has been around for a couple months, and people are using it and starting experiencing miraculous results, then you start to realize that the microcirculation, it's much more effective in feeding the body, on getting nutrients quicker throughout the body. It's like, how can you describe it? It's like microcirculation is almost like vapor compared to regular circulation. So it can go into areas where regular circulation doesn't, okay? It can penetrate and it can nurture and feed nutrient-rich extracts to the body in areas where regular circulation won't really do that. And so when you're looking at you've got regular circulation, and you've got quantum circulation, microcirculation. But it gets into the tissue more. It penetrates more. It's much more effective. And it gets everywhere. And so that's why the microcirculation in Hercules is so important for our bodies, for the reverse aging with the telomeres. Because the reverse aging has a lot to do with the microcirculation and how healthy your microcirculation is in the body. So when it becomes less or not as flowing, then you're going to have issues. You could have accelerated aging in the telomeres. There is such a thing. Some people, have you ever noticed something? Some people, and I'm sure you've come across this, age different than others. It's not the same. It's not the same across the board. Why is that? Well, because of their structure. Because remember, we only inherit 10% genetically from our ancestors. That's it. The rest is lifestyle. So depending on your lifestyle and how you've treated the body has a lot to do, in the long run, on how healthy your telomeres are. Now, some people, they have their telomeres stay younger longer. Okay? And this is why, and people go, well, it's good genes, good genetics. Not really. It's lifestyle. Okay? You could take two people, one just literally bastardizes the crap out of their body for years and years and years, and they look like, well, I'm only 50, and they look 80. You ever seen that? You just look at them and go, man, they look old. Skin, laying in the sun too much. Through the years, the skin loses, it basically gets so damaged, the upper layer, epidermis, that the sun damage is just so absolutely, and you can't tell it unless you use a UV light, different light spectrums to see how much damage there is, or a light spectrum analyzer that actually you can look at the skin and go, wow. But see, people don't notice that. And this is the aging, and we really should look at all aspects of it in the environment, which is usually not addressed. So the environment plays an important role on how you live and how you expose yourself to certain elements in the environment as to how you're going to be, period. A lot of people that have been in the sun too long end up having severe eye problems because of the ultraviolet light and the sun rays, which is, we do have radiation that comes from the sun that bombard our bodies. So it's like people on the beach, and then so you wear sunglasses, but a lot of people don't wear sunglasses in the water and don't think about wearing sunglasses at all. And it degrades the eyes, and it also kills the skin. So remember, when you're looking at people, and you've noticed this, and then you'll get some people that are 80 and look a healthy 50. So it goes both ways. It just depends on what they've eaten, how they've eaten, what their nutrition level is, their exercise level, how they utilize the breath, and how they protect their bodies from the elements. So if you take somebody that's let's just say in between, and they at one time they smoked a lot, drank a lot, did a lot of things, but it might have been 30, 40 years ago. And so they begin to use Hercules. And the first thing that happens is the microcirculation, better blood flow, better oxygenation, better utilization of the oxygen that you take into the body. Another thing that people don't understand about their bodies is that our bodies, in some cases, are not that efficient utilizing the oxygen that we bring in. You see? So, and what happens then? Well, a lot of things can happen because we do not have a healthy flow of oxygen running through the body. Some of us we just don't have a high efficiency on utilizing oxygen. So you can take in a lot of oxygen, but the body doesn't utilize it as well as others. And it just depends. And like if you have somebody that when they sleep at night, they barely breathe. Okay, you've heard sleep apnea. Okay. Now understand that all of us, okay, our jawline, our structure is not right. Okay, so that's why we have wisdom teeth, right? Our jaws were supposed to be larger to accommodate those teeth, but through genetic manipulation, the jaw structure is not aligned right. It just isn't. And because of this, we have issues in breathing. Not everybody, but a lot of people do. You'd be surprised how many do that don't know it. And so the breathing is so important. Now think what happens when we're not consciously aware of the fact that our breathing is greatly reduced. It's usually roughly 8 hours during the time we sleep. And because of that, we deteriorate more rapidly. And you could be 20 and have that issue, but not really think about it. And, have you ever caught yourself dozing off and snoring? You just get the tail end of that noise. It's because of how our jaw has been structured. It's not right. It never was for quite some time. Now, if it had been, those wisdom teeth would be straight up, okay? And, but they call them wisdom teeth, see, because they don't understand, how that happened. Oh, they're just extra teeth that came in there, and we have to take them out. It's, it's funny how they operate on this planet. But when you realize the fact that there's a lot of things that we are not knowledgeable about our bodies. And I'm not talking about a doctor. They're taught the same thing over and over again, decade after decade. They don't expand their imaginations. They don't reach outside of the Draco construct. So when you begin to realize that we have these different understandings with our bodies, and the microcirculation is one of the key factors of a healthy body. That's it, bottom line. But where are you going to get it? How do you, can you buy it in a tank and breathe it? No. It comes from the planet. Doesn't that make sense? It comes from organic extracts formulated correctly and precisely so that it feeds the body. And I'm not talking about, eating, okay? Now, understand something else. It feeds the body but doesn't tax the body. That's an issue, too, that we all are faced with. It feeds the body and doesn't tax the body's systems. So when you take Hercules in the mouth, under the tongue, or on the tongue, or just spray it in the mouth, it increases through microcirculation many different aspects of your body, many different physical aspects of your body. All the tissues and the organs and the blood flow. Because, number one, it does thin the blood. The thinner the blood, the healthier the body. And when you thin the blood naturally, and not with things like Coumadin and these synthetic chemical blood thinners, it's a whole different ballgame. And the blood can get to places where it hasn't gotten to places for some time through microcirculation. Why is that? Well, because some of your vascular system isn't as efficient. Some of your vascular system is clogged in some areas. And I'm not talking about major, it doesn't have to be major clogs, but just some smaller arteries in the body may be constricted, okay, with buildup. And the microcirculation is able, the blood's able, through the microcirculation, to flow through it in a microscopic way. So it gets the blood gets to the tissues and nurtures the tissues and feeds the tissue of the body. And that's, the blood is a superhighway of information for the body. And it carries these extracts in the blood through microcirculation, which then has the ability to penetrate in areas of the body that have not had that flow for maybe quite some time. This is why people experience pains in the leg, you know, pains in the shoulder, pains in the chest, pains in the neck, pains in the back, because that's why. When parts of your body aren't used to certain things, because it hasn't been exposed to it for a while, it's going to tell you, I'm not used to this. See? So you begin, it's about your intimate understanding and knowledge of your body, not everybody else's, but your body. So then the microcirculation gets to the telomeres. And through the extracts, through the microcirculation, it starts to reverse the aging of the telomeres. So the legs get longer. And your body biologically gets younger. And certain aspects of it, and tissues and everything, as people are starting to experience, become more efficient, become stronger. You know, you can have a weak artery, and sometimes people that have weak arteries, they get a thrombosis, which means that the interior lining of the artery weakens enough, thins out enough, where blood will push out and form a balloon, a sac, all right? A thrombosis, which then the blood will sit in that sac for, it could be for quite some time, and then eventually explode, and you're gone out of body instantaneously. So it's to be aware of this and not frightened of these things, because you're administering something that actually no one has had in public circulation up until a few months ago with Hercules. Now, there have been people that have used similar formulas, but not for the public, okay? Not for public distribution. And the cost that they paid up for that was just astronomical. So it's to keep this fresh, to keep, and see, what happens to a lot of people is that they get, you know, kind of right, oh, they start taking things for granted. It's just, oh, yeah, okay, so that type of thing. But Hercules is such an impactful, powerful formula for the civilization, not just here in this country, but everywhere. And it's to keep it front and center, because right now it's the only thing that is available that can truly nurture, feed, and reverse the biological age of the body through microcirculation. It's just absolute, phenomenal. And, you know, when people can't walk and then they walk again, I'm telling you, this is not some kind of a fly-by-night formulation where people end up putting it on the back burner because, oh, well, you know, oh, I tried that. Yeah, it did some good for me. It is to be consistent, and it is to use it, and it is to be consistent, use it consistently, and forward. Now, when people get expectations or attachments to something, that's when they get disturbed and irritated, because they expect certain things to happen at certain times, and when they don't happen, they get irritated. So then the negative energies and frequencies come in, and they can actually block the effect of this, not all of it, but some of it, of the Hercules. You know, I've talked to people through the years that will be trying something, it's crap. It doesn't do anything for me at all. Well, how long have you been using it? Oh, a couple months. It's just crap, though. Now, see, here's an interesting understanding, is that everybody's body is different. There aren't any two alike. the interior structure of them. It's because of how you have lived that affects your entire body. What habits do you have? How have you lived through the years with that body you're in? So some people can use Hercules and start experiencing phenomenal things. Others, not much at first. Maybe 3 months, and they're going, I don't really notice anything. But how long did it take you to get your body where it's at? Think about that one. How long did it take you to get your body in the present time, in the moment where it's currently at? Long time, didn't it? When you were in your 30s, in most cases, you didn't have any really issues, did you? 40s, maybe not. 50s, probably not. And then 60s, things started kind of poking their heads up, and then 70s, and then, if you're fortunate enough to make it into the 80s, then you start noticing more and more things. And when you do, you see, and you go, you don't think about how long it's taken you with your body to get to those points. That doesn't dawn on you. It's there, and you're going, well, something's here, and I got to take care of this, and I got to figure this out, and I got to figure this, I got to do this. And the scariest thing is when people don't know their bodies, and you hand it over to a complete stranger. Isn't that amazing? Because you think that they know better than you do, because, well, they do from a very, small understanding, but then you begin to learn about your body. And there are people on this planet who have done that throughout their whole lives. And they're in the body, and the body is quite healthy, and they're quite happy. And they've never been to an allopathic doctor. They've never been into surgery or anything like that. And the reason is because they developed a loving relationship with their body. They understood that, there's certain things through wear and tear that the body begins to break down in certain areas. And when you understand that, then you find nutrient-rich applications that you can ingest, rub, and spray to compensate for different parts of the body that start to become less efficient. And everybody's is that way, okay? Everybody's. It's a certain variance, degrees. And when people begin to understand this, it's fine. My responsibility is my body to make sure that it does the best it can do, carrying me around for as long as I can have it carry me around. So it's a much more than, spray it and get young. Because it's a teacher to help you understand is that, obviously, if you drank a fifth of booze a day and you were taking Hercules, you'd have a difficult time noticing anything. If you smoke profusely or if you have a horrible diet and you figure, well, Hercules, it's a cure-all, it's going to take care of everything. No, that's not true. You see, but that's what the ego says up there. Oh, take that, it'll fix it. And see, that's another thing that we do, and none of us are exempt from any of this, because we've all experienced it more than once. Another thing that we do is we go, I'll just take this and it'll take care of it. You get it fixed right away. See, instead of understanding why you are being challenged with whatever it is that you're experiencing physically. You say, I wonder why this is happening. You get curious. And you get inquisitive with yourself, and you start saying, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to figure out why this is, what are the issues? What causes this? How do things work? Do you ever do that? You know how many people in this country alone will have a general practitioner, doctor, family doctor, prescribe them medications and they don't know how they really work. They don't know. They just go by the doctor, and then the warnings, that you could drop dead, you could have a heart attack, you could, stroke out, you could do all kinds of things as side effects of this drug. But they're not prevalent, so don't worry about it. And so we choose to take these poisons because we don't know what else to do, because we don't have the knowledge of organic applications to heal the body. And this is the way, this is what's happened for, many years, where they've just pushed it out. They've buried it. And that's why they chase people that practice it and try to end them, because they know that once a civilization gets wise enough and wakes up enough, that they're not going to use allopathic. They won't use it, period. And obviously, once we have the celestial chamberlain operation and it's fully circulated throughout the civilization, there really won't be doctors. Understand that. There won't be. And the only reason there would be a new version of a doctor is because they would service people when people are too preoccupied with many other things. So they really don't have the time, because it is time-consuming. But the people will still have a knowledge. They'll still have that knowledge. So when the doctor does tend them, they won't be in the dark, and the doctor it'll be kind of like a synergy, okay? The doctor will suggest certain extracts and different applications, non-chemical, non-synthetic. So the whole process is going to shift drastically. And it is about education, but guess what? Each of us we choose to educate ourselves. That's it. We choose. No one's going to force us to educate ourselves about our bodies. We will choose to do that. And no one's going to tell you how to be. You ever notice that? That's that ego stubborn streak. I know all this and everything, and I do this and I do that. But, that's what happens, because you know best, right? And we know, here's a good understanding. I think everybody on this call knows this. If you run yourself down, which means this, you could be healthy, right? And you could eat okay, but this is what happens. Here's the key ingredients that starts to break you down physically, emotionally. And you don't notice it because your ego drives you so heavily that you just keep doing it. You think that you're basically indestructible. And you feel that you can will things, and there's people like that. But what happens is that lack of sleep, lack of good sleep, number one, okay. Poor oxygen intake, number two, right? Not consistent exercise. We were not built to sit. I know that might sound strange to people. We were not built to sit. We were built to be in motion. And if you look back to some of the ancestral connections with older younger versions of us, I should say, but actually older ancestors. I'm talking about the ape, and I'm not talking about the monkey and any of that stuff. But we were, at one time, hunter-gatherers. Understand that, okay? And what that means is we were nomads. And what's a nomad? We didn't stay in one place all the time. We moved. We were constantly on the move. And then we'd find shelter, and we'd eat, and then we would move with the animals so that we could sustain ourselves. So we were constantly hunting and looking and foraging and hunter-gatherers. So we'd hunt and gather. So now you look at us as we've become more and more domesticated from the perspective of we wear clothes. We wear coverings. They did, but not anywhere near like we do. In fact, in the beginning, they didn't have any clothes. None. So they had to adapt to the elements and the surface of the planet. So you're hunter-gatherers, and then they began to figure out how to make things so that they could bring down animals so they could eat. And in the beginning, they didn't use fire because they didn't know how to make fire. And so they would, once they brought it down, they'd eat raw. So you start to realize there's connections here. Are we still hunter-gatherers? Yeah, but much lighter, okay? We are hunter-gatherers. And is the nomad still in us? Some of us, yeah, it surfaces. Where there's some people who do not like being, 20 years in one dwelling, and that's it, okay? They're on the move, and they move, or they might have an RV and they just live in RVs. And they like to be able to have the freedom and go wherever they want to go. See? And that's part of the nomadic heritage that we've had. Some of us still hunt. We hunt, hopefully we hunt because we need the meat to eat. That's why we hunt, not for sportsmanship or ego, to end an animal's life just because of ego and sportsmanship it's twisted. But that's those people's prerogatives. So when you start to understand this synergy and this, how things brought us to now physically, right? Yeah, we had a lot of body hair. Why do we have a lot of body hair? Because it kept us warm, right? But through thousands of years, we didn't wear. Then we started wearing things, and we found that it kept us warmer, so that we started using animal hides and stuff to cover ourselves, and then eventually we started having clothes, and so we wear. But what that did is it took us away from the connection of the prana of the planet, because now what we do right in this moment is we're covered with clothes all the time. We have rubber-soled shoes. We don't connect with the prana. Have you ever watched dogs or cats when they're in an area where they're outside a lot? Have you ever noticed how they are when they're with the earth, when they lay on the ground, how calm they are? And they are, right? And I'm not talking about rabid dogs or dogs that have emotional issues. I'm just talking, generically, where they're comfortable. They sleep. You can feel the energy. And can you imagine that we understood that long term, and that in your dwelling, right, you would have a kind of a scoop out, all right, where that kind of fit your body, but it was earth. It was earth. And, once a day you'd lay there for an hour or so with no clothes on. You just lay in that scooped out bowl of the earth that fit your body. Because you're going to see that in the future. It's not going to be. It won't be set up where there's bugs and stuff coming in or anything like that. But you'll be able to connect with the energies of the planet fully, knowingly. Okay. I don't know if you've ever laid on the grass. Have you ever, when you're tired, have you ever laid on the grass and there's a light breeze and, there's no rain or anything? And have you ever noticed how relaxed you become and how you drift off and how you just don't think of anything. It's like you just go off. Now, it's different when you're sleeping outdoors on the grass or on the ground, because it's a much different feeling than in the bed. It's different, much different. So these are all things about our bodies that we have been pushed and pushed out and away from it. So we don't give it enough attention to understand the connections that we have with things. Because understand, we are all one with everything. And we've never been separate. But we've been taught to be separate, which is not possible. You see, what happens is that we think we're separate, and so we kind of live separate, but we're not. And it's understanding that So this goes way deeper about our bodies, and to understand, like when a formula as miraculous as I Hercules comes along, you respect it greatly. You understand it, and you appreciate it, that it's been made available to you, that you can use it to become biologically younger, which means that your body doesn't deteriorate at the rate it has been. You literally stop the aging. You reverse it. So what does that really truly mean? It means that your cells, mitochondria, bones, hair, everything get younger. And this all happens in the body. And here's a question for you. Would you rather look like, Steve Reeves, some of you might remember him, or, a perfect physique and all outside looking healthy, and to have your interior be that of a 80 or 90-year-old being? Or would you rather have the interior be that healthy to begin with? It's interesting what people would choose. And it all starts within. Always has, always will. And starting within means that, okay, so I can address my telomeres, which means I will keep my body in a youthful state. That is it, bottom line. I'll keep my body in a youthful state. But see, there's formulas out there that are so expensive, guys, that people just run out of money. Okay? They run out of money. It costs so much. Unless you've got bazillions of dollars, it's no big deal. But not many people do. So even if they're making a couple, 2, 3, 4, 5, 600 grand a year, it adds up. You're spending 10,000, 20,000 a month, 30,000 a month. You can see how it'll just eat it away. And then they kind of figure they just can't afford to keep it up. Hercules. Now understand something. You can build a business with this. Obviously, you can build a business so you get to a point where your Hercules, when it's on auto ship, is only $45. Period. That's just like unheard of. If I had my way, I'd have a big coliseum, and I invite as many people there as possible, and I have big screens, and I'd show them the Hercules movie, the video that they have now, and which if you haven't seen it yet, I suggest you get the link. It's on our website too, and you can watch this movie, and it was well done. It's very professional. It isn't detailed to the point where no one understands it. It's done in layman's terms, and it's very good. It does a good job on explaining very easily just exactly what you've gotten a hold of with Hercules. And understand also that, those of you who have liquid gold, our first formula, use it. Use the liquid gold. Now, Hercules does have liquid gold properties with it. So you're getting a double punch with Hercules. That's why that formula of Hercules is unprecedented. There isn't any other one on the planet like it. Zero. Not even close. So you begin to realize, it says, wow, I got a hold of something here, and the universe gave it to me. Yes, it did. Provided it for you. And I know that there's not, unless you have a death wish, but there's very few people are not interested in being younger. All right. And another thing that's very important about Hercules is that the more people that get into the frame of mind that this is real, and it's not something that it's not some kind of a make-believe scenario, that this is real and it works. It gets people in a different position of understanding. And slowly but surely it acclimates people to start understanding that reverse aging is not going to go away. It's going to become more and more prevalent amongst the civilization. And when we come out with a celestial chamber, people will be much more flexible with that technology. They'll be more accepting with it. So it's just kind of like a precursor. You say, well, okay, you see what Hercules does. Now watch what happens with the celestial chamber. Now you know that reverse aging is possible because you're experiencing it. Not anti-aging, reverse aging. And when you start to understand that and what you've got a hold of and what you're taking, and it's not like, oh, I've only been on this for 3 weeks and I look 20. You know? I've got long, thick, flowing hair and all my teeth have grown back in and my limbs have regenerated. Well, we know that's just silly. But the fact of the matter is that, I know that you guys, there's no way that none of us are experiencing, even at a micro quantum level in our bodies that we aren't aware of yet, that good things are happening. You don't have to notice them for them to happen. Did you notice what you were doing with your body 30, 40, 50 years ago? No, you didn't notice. The only time you notice is when something, what's that? You're not really paying much attention, and you're kind of just flitting along, and then as years go by, all of a sudden things start happening, and you start going, what's that? Okay? Because you just basically haven't communicated with the body much at all, and now it's drawing your attention because you become scared or something, and you don't know what it is. Wouldn't it be great, okay? Wouldn't it be nice? Because this day will come when you don't have to worry that you will have cancer. Think about that now. That you don't have to worry about ever having it, because number one, when all of the cancer cells are eliminated, the dormant cells that carry cancer are eliminated, what do you think is going to happen? You won't have it ever. And I'm talking about young people, 10-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 20-year-olds, infancy, because, there's a lot of things that happen to our bodies that we aren't aware of. Born with a deficient immune system, lots of things. And we're going to be able to correct them all of it. So Hercules is kind of like a precursor of reverse aging, so you can start getting a taste of what it's like. I know, because I'm experiencing just every day. I'm not looking for anything. I'm not expecting anything, but there's just a little bit here, a little bit there that shows up. My energy factors and everything. I will warn people, do not spray it like, a half an hour before you go to bed, because you aren't going to sleep. You'll be in bed for an hour at least, kind of laying there, wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, until you finally are able to doze off, maybe 2 hours. Because I tried that as an experiment. I won't do it anymore because I couldn't sleep. Because I just had that, I wasn't hyped up. I just had, like you would, you're fully clear and awake during the course of the day and you aren't tired. Well, when you go to bed, that's the reason you go to bed, is to sleep. And sleep is just absolutely tremendously important. I can guarantee you, I could take a person who sleeps, gets that 8 hours no matter what, and gets into that cycle. You see, a lot of our bodies are not in a cycle because we interrupt them so much. And we take them for granted. We work them so much that we don't realize how we get out of the rhythm of sleep, the rhythm of relaxation. And then the body starts to deteriorate. And then it does things that you really don't care to have it do, but that's what happens. And I could guarantee you take someone that only gets 3-4 hours, and I know people, I've known people that do that, day in and day out, 3-4 hours of sleep, of consistent sleep, okay, healthy sleep. And then as time goes by, and then other things, poor diet, poor nutrition, not consistent, no rhythm to it. And then what happens is that things, all of a sudden, you get sick when you don't normally get sick. And as that body at a certain age and so it's a certain balance. If you don't get that accadia, that rhythm sustained with your body where you can sleep easy and you feel good and you get up good and you during the course of the day you don't have fatigue where you dump off. I recommend that everybody gets a nap. You'd be 20 years old, you should take a nap. Didn't we take a nap as kids? Didn't any of you remember? Nap time, right? Well, we thought that was just because. Does that make any sense when you're young, you're taking a nap? Sure it does. It's that rhythm. It's always making sure that your body is good. Say that it's always good. And whatever you can do to improve its function, you will. So it's that rhythm that we are always looking for. And the rhythm is that we flow with our bodies. We don't have any obstructions. And we don't take our bodies for granted. And we tend them. We talk with them. You know, body, I'm going to put this in for us so that this will help you here and here. You know, I'm spraying this. This is going to help you here and here. And you talk with your hands and you talk with different parts of the body. And this is a natural rhythm that many of us don't have. We disturb and disrupt the rhythm day in and day out. And we don't know that because we haven't educated ourselves on it. But when you get that rhythm out of whack, you're going to know it eventually. It might take a year, 2 years, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 15, 20 years. But you'll eventually know it. And when you start respecting your body more, you say, I'm going to take a nap. And you take a nap, 2 hours or so. You're not going to sleep all day. It's not the purpose. You're going to lay down, you're going to take a little nap. Well, I don't have time to take a nap. Then your body suffers. But it's kind of constantly regenerating and helping and assisting. And I guarantee you take the one person who lives the life of interrupted sleep where they're, if you wake up, you go to the restroom at night, okay, and you go back to bed and you just fall back asleep. That's not interrupted, see? Then there's other people that will go back to bed and they can't go back to sleep. So they take pills, see? They take pills, and that's artificial sleep. And so people are in pain and they can't sleep, right? Or they're worried about so much that they can't sleep. You see what happens? We get out of our own rhythm. And as time goes by, we're so out of the rhythm that the body is in trauma constantly. It doesn't get enough sleep. Nutrition. When I was a personal trainer, and I would help people with their diets, I'd help them, they wanted to do certain things, and I would assist them. You can't force people to do anything, so they wanted to improve themselves as far as their body health, okay, and well-being. So, some of the people I would sit down and interview with, because when I was a massage therapist and I was a physical trainer and nutrition, and so what I did was I incorporated all of that. So when I would interview them, they would tell me what their lifestyle was. How much sleep do you get? Well, about maybe 4 hours, if I'm lucky, a night. And that's a death knell. Eventually, it's a suicide way to live. And, I've never needed a lot of sleep. Well, okay, so that's how the ego mind convinces you've never needed a lot of sleep. So, and then have you ever tried to stay up for 2 days straight without sleeping? Yeah. The brain will shut down. It'll shut down. You can't even talk right. You start mumbling. You can't. If you stay up for 48 hours without any sleep at all, whether you try to fake it or not, your brain shuts down. Your motory senses and electrical impulses start to fade. And you've got to sleep. You just do. While you're in the body needs rest. You don't, your soul doesn't, but the body does. So this whole process is put together and connected, so you come through it. You become intimately aware of your body, and you start treating it with reverence and respect. and it will treat you the same way. And so what you're doing, those of us using Hercules, is that we're treating our body with reverence and respect because we desire our bodies to be happy. Happy body, happy life. Unhappy body, unhappy life. It just makes sense. So what we'll do is we'll do a little Q&A here. Okay. Okie dokie. All right. So if anybody has any testimonies or questions or anything that they would like to share, we'll go ahead and see if we can answer them. And I'll remind people that we're gathering these testimonials so everybody can use them. Okay, everybody use them. So if people want to know what well, how do you know this works? That's a good one. Yeah, how do you know it works? Well, I'm using it. Well, what's it done for you? And then it's going to be really fun when people have, they've done the TILO test, and then they wait until after, 3-4 months, and then they do another TILO test, and then they turn around and say, well, I'll show you. Here's my doctor's report on my blood before I started my Hercules. See it? Yeah. You see the age that it puts me at? Yeah. Okay. Here is my doctor's report after 4 months of on Hercules. Do you see my age now? I'm going to tell you guys, that's going to be impactful, powerful for even the most skeptic, pessimistic being on the planet. Six 631-1347.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Okay, I have this question.
Yes.
It's concerning my shoulder. I've injured my shoulder. I broke it. It didn't heal right. I'm scheduled for surgery, but I'm reconsidering it. And after talking to my friend, we were discussing maybe this might be the answer to the problem that I'm having. I have a vascular necrosis where there's a lack of blood supply. Would this product help?
Yes. Microcirculation, blood flow around the shoulder, the bone, the cartilage. The blood flow is absolutely imperative. And when you damage, like you did with your shoulder, and sometimes they don't heal right. And so when they don't heal right, you get blockage, you get poor circulation, you get numbness, all kinds of things. So when you can actually, through microcirculation, get the blood flowing much healthier, along with the extracts and properties of Hercules, it's going to help it. You're going to definitely notice a change.
The question, the other part is, being that there is dead bone already, you can't fix dead bone, but you can also nourish it, though. Is that
Yeah, that's true. You can nourish it, but also remember this is like, let's say that I don't know if you've ever had a root canal, okay?
Yes.
But you have bone, you have your jawbone, right? And then when the dentist does X-rays, and then shows you the X-rays, says, see this bone here. You see how the tooth has come away in the bone. Now, when they do the root canal, and you wait, so many months, you get an X-ray again, and the bone has grown in. You could be 80, and the bone has grown in. So understand that bone will grow. It will grow in. So the dead bone, the necro tissue.
Right.
And I've seen this happen with people where the necrosis, where new bone will come in as the old. If you have the right application into the body, you'll see that the new bone comes in as the old bone is disintegrated. So with microcirculation, obviously, the healthy application is that you want to encourage bone growth in that area.
Correct.
So the microcirculation will allow the body and the bone to grow.
Mm-hmm.
As you reverse the biological aging of the body, the tissue and everything gets younger, okay? So as it gets younger through the microcirculation, it absorbs nutrients more effectively and efficiently. And as it absorbs those nutrients more effectively and efficiently, it is going to make a difference in some of the areas of the body that are damaged.
That sounds right. That sounds correct. That's good.
Yep.
That's what I was looking for. That's basically the answer I was looking for. I was talking to my friend Artie this afternoon, and we were discussing it, and I said, I really am having second thoughts about having the surgery. I'm thinking, of the med bed. I'm thinking of this new stuff that you have, that Hercules. I says, I'm wondering what would be the best course for me, because to do surgery, it's the whole recovery period, the healing period. The doctor says, it could take about 6 months for some people. But then, of course, you have to have the physical therapy. And I went through all that when I broke it, and it just
So you look at alternative applications. So
yes.
You're on iHercules and you see what happens.
That sounds good. Thank you so much. I appreciate it very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Much welcome.
Thank you.
Love. 615-6769.
Well, I've talked about this before, but you brought it up tonight and you got me to thinking. This plaque I had in my leg that this liquid gold removed for me, if I hadn't have done that, how would I have removed that plaque out of that ankle area in my vein?
Well, you probably would have had to have vitamin C IV, which can cause issues with other organs if you have weak organs in some areas. So the intravenous vitamin C treatment could eliminate that over a period of time, but it's all about circulation, as you found out with your ankle and the blockage, and the liquid gold basically dissolve the blockage, help the body get rid of it. So, surgery, there it is. They could go in there, make an incision, and open up the vein or artery and, clamp it off and clean it out, and then put it back together, and then scar tissue forms, and then, you could have more blockage than you did before eventually. So
yeah, that's what
yeah.
I want to do that.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, and some people have no choice. They haven't really reached outside of the allopathic to help themselves. So they, go ahead, doc, go ahead and do that. Let's get rid of it, type thing. And we do everything we can not to let anybody cut into us. That's it.
Yeah, I've been for that for a long time.
Yeah.
And the most I felt out of this when it was actually leaving my body was that I actually thought I had a vibrating pager on my hip. So I actually reached to my hip like, wait a minute, I don't have no pager. And it was vibrating in my leg that much up around my hip.
Wow. Yeah, that's something.
It was really strong, and of course I had people, oh, what if you get a blood clot and you go to your brain? Like, oh, give me a break. You know, everybody.
No, it's always, you always keep that understanding is that thin blood, healthy body.
Yeah.
Naturally thin blood, healthy body. Okay? Thick blood, you know, where, you know, you cut yourself and you can always tell. If the blood's thick, you know, and you'll know if you're getting good oxygen because if the blood isn't getting great oxygen, it's not bright red. It's a little darker. The only reason that is because it's not being oxygenated as much as it should be. So when you cut yourself and your blood is bright red, it means that your oxygen level is really good. And that's just a test that you can do for yourself. Now, I've told people, I said, you know, just take you know, dip it and disinfect it, and then just take a little pen and just prick your finger and, you know, squeeze a little bit, and then look at the color of the blood. You'll know right away that you've got some issues if the blood is dark, okay, and it's not vibrantly bright, okay. Then there's in-betweens, different stages, but you'll know. So, but with Hercules microcirculation and the health of the blood is absolutely paramount. If you got toxified blood running through your body, going through all the tissues and organs, what do you think is going to happen with the organs? They're going to become toxic. Then they're going to start breaking down. A lot of the times that's what happens with the pancreas. And I've shared this with people. Everything starts with the pancreas. It isn't, as the doctors tell you, it all stems from the pancreas. All of it, you know, kidney issues, liver issues, spleen, gallbladder, heart, blood pressure, all of that. It all starts with the pancreas. And I bet you most people never do that because they don't bring it up. They don't talk about that. And eventually, as the toxification of the blood gets more, it starts to affect the pancreas, its insulin production, and all things start to degrade. Some faster than others in some bodies, but they do degrade. And so what happens is that then you end up over here with a liver issue, toxic liver. You don't have to be an alcoholic to have a toxic liver. It's because of the body and the colon and the food that doesn't digest that we eat. And it and so what does the body do with it? It lays it, and year after year, it becomes impacted on the walls of the colon. And so that stuff will gas off, and it will give off toxic gases that will eventually, through years and years, affect the colon, and that's why people end up with polyps on the colon. And what do they call it? Precancerous. And so, you know, then they scrape them off. They scrape the polyps off, and you might bleed for a few days, but that's okay. And so you begin to understand is that the body toxicity is very important to keep as low or as zero as possible because it affects everything. And the pancreas is the first one that starts causing issues. And it can go to other places, go to the kidneys, it can go to the liver, and as like I said, it can go to different parts of the body. But it's the toxicity, the thickness of your blood. You can take that test whenever you want, and you can tell, my blood is dark, I've got issues that I need to tend to.
Well, I was kind of trying to help, and I didn't think I was going to get anything, and of course you always fill my pockets full before I leave.
Well, you know, I know that's why you have deep pockets. See, that's why. Yeah.
Hey, well, much love. Thank you for everything, there, Jared.
You too, Gary. Thank you. Much love. Nancy Ann.
How are you tonight?
I'm doing just marvelous. I'm going to do a cardio workout after this call.
Oh. Well, then you really are feeling good, aren't you?
Yes, exactly.
I've got. Did you ever have a chance to look at that place that I sent you?
Yeah.
It was on Heavenly Drive. What do you think?
Well, it's nice. It's just I've learned that when you don't have the wherewithal to acquire something like that, I don't look at it. I just don't look at it because I don't have the funds right now to it's nice, it's feasible, it has a lot of potential. It can be shifted into a Shangri-La resort. So
Well,
there's. Yeah.
Well, I was looking at actually 4 pieces. I was looking at that, and then I was looking at 2 that would give housing, and then I did find another place that had two different buildings for manufacturing. So it would be like, and that place does need a lot of repair, but we'll see what this next week brings, and hopefully everything will be going fine. Your buddy Gabby is improving every day, just a little bit. It's noticeable though, sort of amazing.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it really. I mean, it's just. He's getting younger. He really is compared to the condition he's been in for the last 2 years. So they are 100% right that they do get better. That the animals react more quickly than we do. Although I'm having good results too. So we love the Hercules, and we plan to take it for the full 4 months. So, but I was just curious if you thought that would be a workable place.
Oh yeah, thumbs up on it. Thumbs up on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be taking that Hercules as long as they have it.
Me too. And Gabby just put his foot up.
Yeah.
So,
I'll be taking that Hercules for as long as they have it.
Well, all the stuff you take, it must take you an hour to take everything a day because you're on so much.
Well, it's when you get used to it after years, you got a cupboard full of different things, and then okay, I take this, take that, and then in real slim times, you learn to really shave it down to just essentials. And I've been in situations where, I'd go out in nature and eat plants. So.
Oh wow.
Get the nutrients out of those.
Mm-hmm.
But we learned that our bodies, as time goes by, aren't as efficient. So we got to help them by supplementing with stuff that the body can absorb and not the garbage stuff. So once you get into that habit, it's just part of life.
Mm-hmm. I used to take a lot, and then when Glenn got sick, I quit taking. I need to start rebuilding my regimen. So anyway, but Gabby's sitting here saying hi to you.
Got his foot up.
Yeah, he's got his foot up.
You
want to talk to Jerry? So anyhow, listen, you did great tonight. There's always new information. I mean,
yeah,
it's just amazing. You're a walking let's say probably about 10 editions of Encyclopedia Britannica.
It's just a pipeline. It just keeps coming, so I just keep delivering it.
Oh, well, it's fabulous. Okay, get on to someone else.
Much love.
Love you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okie dokie. I think that's it for tonight. And wish everybody a good night and happy Hercules continuously. And we're adding new testimonials every week on the Hercules. So, and again, we've got the movie on there. We've got just about everything on there. WeAreOneLifeForAll.net. Much love to all of you. Have a phenomenal weekend.